Hey everybody, it's Ashley Francis with Blue Sage Counseling and Wellness, and this is the second part of a two-part series. Today we'll be focusing on how to support someone who is going through grief during the holidays. The first video focuses on how to cope with grief during the holidays if you, in fact, are the individual who has experienced the loss, and you can find the link to that down in the comments below. So it's difficult enough when someone is experiencing a direct loss. It's something that is affecting them personally and directly. But it can also be really difficult to know how to support someone who is going through a loss that is close to you. And I wanted to put some focus on this topic in particular because I don't really feel like this topic gets enough attention. A lot of attention is really focused on the person that is experiencing the loss. But what about you? It affects you too. You may be going through grief as well, and it might get overshadowed by the fact that your partner is going through it or your family member is going through it. So I want you to know that your feelings matter and they count too. And I want to talk about some practical, tactical things that you can do to help support the other person, but also help to take care of yourself. So let's go ahead and dive in. So the first thing that we want to focus on is keeping your judgments to yourself. It can be particularly hard when maybe on Facebook or on social media, we see that a family member who is going through the grief process is just posting. And it's very obvious to you that maybe they're compensating for something. Maybe they're not wanting to actually feel the full impact of the loss. So they're doing the look at me syndrome, posting all these pictures of all of the things that they're making, all the places that they're going. And it seems so obvious to you that they are avoiding, they are denying, but it may not be so obvious to them. But the important thing to keep in mind here is that grief is grief, and it affects us all very differently. And the point of the matter is you don't know yourself how it's going to affect you until it actually happens. So it's easy to be in judgment of others who are going through it when you yourself are not going through it. So you want to try your best to give them the benefit of the doubt because you just don't know exactly what they're going through. So when you feel that need to want to respond to their comment or send them a text or make a snide comment or shoot them a dirty look, try to hold that back. Try to hold it back and give them the benefit of the doubt. The next thing is to support however they choose to spend the holidays, whether they want to decorate or they don't want to decorate, if they want to go out to holiday parties or they want to stay home, if they want to do holiday shopping this year or they don't. You simply just want to be able to give them the space to call the shots this year. So maybe you are kind of taking the back seat, but this is temporary. And it's a way of being able to honor that you can see that this person's needs might trump your own for a little while. And it's okay to do that. So the next thing is don't assume they'd rather not be bothered and leave them out. I think this is a really important one. So oftentimes when we know that a loved one or a friend has just experienced a loss, we might be thinking to ourselves, ooh, don't really want to bother them. Like, I know that they are probably going through a hard time and they don't really want to hear from me. So I don't want to send that text, or maybe I shouldn't send those flowers, or maybe they just need to grieve by themselves. That's silly. That's silly. When a person is experiencing grief, the time that they need the most support is during that time. So if you're on the fence about sending that text or sending those flowers, go ahead and do it. But also make sure that you keep a certain level of decorum as well. You don't want to overdo it. You don't want to flood them with texts. You don't want to send 5 different bouquets of flowers. That's just overdoing it, and that starts to become counterproductive. Just a simple text, hey, I'm thinking about you. I'm here to support you. Let me know how I can support you, can really go a long way. So if you're on the fence about it, go ahead and do it. And the next thing to keep in mind is to not take it personally. It's likely that the bereaved is going to go through a lot of mood swings, and it may not be uncommon for them to take out a lot of their grief on you. And this is seemingly unfair, and it is. Let's call it out for what it is. It's not fair for them to be taking their feelings out on you. But simply remind yourself that you're not dealing with a logical, rational person right now, simply because the grief has completely overtaken their brain. They're not able to function the way that they normally will, just simply because of the grief. Now, this doesn't mean that you need to be their punching bag, doesn't mean that you need to sit there and take it, but basically you can excuse yourself. Give yourself permission to excuse yourself from the conversation. You can leave the room and say, I'm not going to speak to you until we're able to come back and address this as adults, or we're able to address this when we're both having more cool heads. And the final thing is to recognize that the bereaved is going to feel left behind when the whole world seems to be moving on without them and the life of the loved one doesn't seem to matter any longer. Here's a really important one too. Oftentimes when someone has experienced a loss, they get a tremendous amount of support from family members, from loved ones, friends, acquaintances, co-workers. They get a lot of recognition during that time. But it's actually after the funeral is over. It's the time when those things stop, or all the meals that have been delivered to that person are no longer coming. And that person can likely take a nosedive during that time because that love and support is no longer there, or it's tapering off. So you want to be mindful of this and to be looking for it, quite possibly. It is the most difficult period of loss, I would say, arguably. So the idea is to just simply ask them, how are you doing since so-and-so has passed? What's it like since so-and-so has passed? How are you spending your time, and how can I best support you? Acting in a proactive manner can really go a long way when it comes to honoring that this still hurts for them. And lastly, you might want to offer to start a new holiday tradition with the bereaved in order to honor the person that is departed. During the holidays, you might want to put together a memory box, or you might want to put some extra presents under the tree, or create an ornament, whatever it is that is going to signify that there's a chapter in their life that is now over, and now there is a new chapter that is beginning. Particularly when someone has lost a parent, this can be particularly helpful, because if you speak to anyone who's lost a parent, it becomes very apparent that their life can be thought of in very binary terms. In other words, this is what my life was like before my mom died, and this is what my life was like after my mom died. This isn't the case for everyone, but because parents play such a big role, such an impactful role in our lives, most people are able to relate to this feeling. So if that's the case, if that's the dynamic that we're experiencing after the loss of someone significant, doesn't it make sense to try and honor the new chapter, or what this next half of our lives is going to look like? And particularly during the holidays is a good time to do this, because it's a time of ritual and routine. The best example of this is ornaments on the tree. If you look at anyone's tree, if they've had it for long enough, they've got an amalgamation. They have a collection of ornaments that they've collected over the years. And that can be particularly difficult and painful to look at when you're going through a loss and you're reminded of all of these years that you've been collecting these ornaments when the departed was actually still with you. So it can be helpful to create a new ornament or a new tradition that now honors this new chapter of their life, or also your life as well. I wanted to add a bonus. One of the most commonly asked questions I get during this time is, what do I say? These are all wonderful ideas of what we can do, but gosh, what do I say? So I want to give you 10 do's and 10 don'ts really quickly. So these are examples of things you can say. I accompany you during your grief. How can I support you during this time? Would you like to talk about it, or would you like to take a walk? They were special to me too. Would you mind if I told you an uplifting story about them? Would you mind if I just sit here with you? We don't even have to talk. It's just nice to be with you. I'm so sorry for your loss. I wish I had the right words. Just know that I care. I don't know how you feel, but I'm here to help you in any way that I can. I'm usually up early or late if you need anything. Or you can offer a hug instead of saying anything. So those are your do's. Here are the don'ts. At least they're not in pain anymore. They're in a better place now. It's been, insert any time frame, and you're not feeling any better. Everything happens for a reason. I know how you feel. He or she has fulfilled his or her life's purpose, and it was their time to go. At least he or she lived a long life. Some people die young. Be strong. Try not to get too emotional about it. They brought this on themselves. Some of these might seem like a no-brainer, but some of them might not. The reason why we want to try and avoid some of these is because it can feel dismissive to that person. Everything is still so very fresh. And to try and help them see the bright side so soon, it's just not going to work. And it's also very insulting. We want to allow them to be in pain. And that can be very difficult, specifically for parents who are trying to console perhaps your child. All you want them to do is feel better. You want them to be out of pain. It's really hard for you to witness them being in pain. But when you do that, you're begrudging them of their experience. You're begrudging them of their healing journey, which is what they actually need to go through in order to feel better and come out on the other side. So we want to be mindful of that. The idea is to simply let them know that, hey, I'm here for you. I don't know what you're going through. I can't possibly relate. I'm not going to even sit here and pretend to know that I know how you feel. But what I can do is let you know that I'm available. Whether you take me up on that or not, it doesn't matter. I'm not offended, but please know that I'm here for you. That will do it on different ways to support someone who is going through grief. Please let me know what you think about this. What are some things that have worked for you, that don't work for you? Any questions that you have in the comments? Give the video a thumbs up. And as always, subscribe to our channel to watch more videos like this. Take care.